to say.
My name is Oswald Ndoda. With me here is Pomono. Let us greet him. Right, before we go into today's lesson, let's begin by sanitizing our hands like that, inside and outside, and then in between our fingers. We stretch out our hands to maintain the social distance, and always we should have our masks on. Right, today's lesson is going to be on diminutive nouns. Right, boys and girls. Remember, we looked at common nouns. We also looked at abstract nouns, proper nouns. Now we want to move on with these nouns. Like I said, today's lesson will be on diminutive nouns. Diminutive, let's pronounce that word properly. Right, what are diminutive nouns? Diminutives are words that refer to something smaller or younger. This is on page, this is on page 3. It's on page 3 of your booklet. Right, diminutive nouns are words that refer to something smaller or something which is younger. Remember about young ones of different animals. And then we have also small things. For instance, a river, Okavango River, a small Okavango is called a rivulet. And then a young one of a dog is a puppy. And then we also have a young one of a cat is a kitten. Right, diminutives are made by adding a suffix, et, let, ling, ock, ette, and kin to the root word. Now, we are saying these suffixes are added to root words, e.g., a root word like eagle. If you add let, it becomes eaglet. So eaglet is the young one of an eagle. You have owl. A young one of an owl becomes an owlet. Duck, duckling. Bull, bullock. Kitchen, kitchenette. Hill, hillock. Diminutives can also be a special word for something younger or smaller. E.g., tree, we call it a sapling. A small tree is called a sapling. Right, let's proceed. Below there on the same page, we have a list of diminutives to refer to. We want to use this as our dictionary as we do our activities. Each time we will be turning to page 3 and look for the answers. There are quite a number of nouns and their diminutives. For instance, there's beer, cub, goose, gooseling, And then we also have the last ones, which is goat, kid, stallion, colt, crown, coronet, etc. Let's turn to page 4. Right, on page 4, diminutive words with the suffix et and the suffix let, L-E-T. An example there for novel is novelette, kitchen, kitchenette, towel, towelette, cigar, cigarette. And then on the other side, we have pig, piglet, book, booklet, leaf, leaflet. And lastly, droplet. Right, boys and girls, let us turn to page 4 of our booklet. We want to look at activities. Number 1, select the correct word from the box to complete the sentences. Now the words in the box read as cynet, eaglet, fawn, sapling, streamlet, kid, lamp, calf, erslet, duckling, cub, foal, rivulet, and gosling. Now, what you simply need to do is to choose a word that will complete the given phrases there. For example, a young duck is a duckling. A young goat is a kid. So you proceed from C up to N, writing the correct diminutive for each. And then activity 2 on the same page, it says, add the correct suffix to make the diminutive, explain the meaning of each diminutive. For instance, we have hill. Do we say hillock or hillet? The answer should be hillock. That's a small hill. Then book. Do we say bookling or booklet? The answer should be booklet, meaning a small book. So you continue with the remaining activities. Now, activity 3, that is on page 5. Let's turn to page 5. Activity 3, it says, read this passage. And obviously, at the end of the passage, there are some questions to be answered. Now, let me read for you the passage first. While bending down to drink water from a rivulet one day, a fox and a cub fell in. Try as they would, they could not climb out because the walls of the rivulet were too high. All the tadpoles and fry along the bank were shocked at the arrival of the new inhabitants and swam away. Not long afterwards, a goat and her kid came along. Behind them were 2 lambs and a piglet, rushing to get the first sip of water. Seeing the fox and its cub in the water, the goat asked them why they were in the water. We are enjoying the cool, pure water, replied the fox. Would you like to jump in and taste it? Without stopping to think, the foolish goat jumped in, followed by the others. No sooner had he reached the bottom than the cunning old fox leaped onto his back and scrambled onto the bank with her cub in her mouth. Looking down at the unhappy goat, the fox laughed and said, "Next time, friend, be sure to look before you leap." Sadly, the goat, the kid, 2 lambs, and the piglet drowned. First to notice the free meal was an elver, followed by tadpoles, fry, and terrapin hatchlings. They all had a good meal. Right, boys and girls, that's how we should read. Then we turn to page 6 of the booklet, where we have the questions. You answer those questions from A to D. For instance, the first one would tell you, underline the diminutive nouns in the text. So if you go back to the passage on page 5, as you read through, you'd see quite a number of diminutives in there. Then you underline. Yours is simply to underline the diminutives. And then B says, write these words in the diminutive noun column below. Use each diminutive only once. Right, so I would like you to do that exercise. And before that, okay, that's fine. Right, welcome back, boys and girls. Let's go to page 6 of our booklet. It says, activity 4 says, complete the following using diminutives. A small hill is called a hillock. A condensed book is called a booklet. Now, C to G, you can complete that on your own. Let's quickly move on to activity 5, which says, use the diminutive suffixes to form diminutive nouns. The diminutive suffix E-T-T-E, and then gives us, from the noun statue, we have statuette. So we can do the rest on our own. Let's quickly turn to page 7, activity 6. Draw a line from the diminutive to the correct definition of it. On your left hand, we have diminutives, and on your right hand, you have the definitions. So I begin with A. Definition A says, a small river, a very small river. You go to your left side. If you look at number 12, it says rivulet. A very small river is a rivulet. So you join a very small river and rivulet. That's A and 12. Also, a young goose, that's on B. A young goose becomes a gooseling. So you join number 1 and B. Now, let us do the rest on our own. But before that, let's proceed to activity 7, which reads, change the underlined words to diminutives and rewrite the sentences. The lady found the dog in a river and took it home to dry off in her kitchen. The underlined diminutive nouns there are dog, river, and kitchen. So, if we are to rewrite that, the sentence would read as follows. The lady found the patty in a rivulet and took it home to dry off in her kitchenette. So we can move on to B and do the rest. Now, on page 8 of our booklet, there is a crossword puzzle there. There's a crossword puzzle where we have a word being on our right bottom or bottom right. There is a list of words there which are diminutives. And then on our right, where it says across and down, those are the nouns where we should write the diminutives. For example, number 1, going downwards, it says pig. So you go to number 1, you find the diminutive of a pig, the young one of a pig. That should be a piglet. So if you write from number 1 going downwards, piglet should fit in those boxes. Across, that's number 2, we have goat. Now, the diminutive or the young one of a goat is a kid. Those are 3 letters, they should also fit across there. So you continue from number 1, 2, up to the last one, which is number 20, writing the diminutives. Right, boys and girls, thank you very much for listening. We have come a long way doing these nouns. Like I said, we did proper nouns, we did abstract nouns. Today we're looking at diminutives. Please, let's not forget them. Right, but before I go, always remember to sanitize. You squeeze your hands inside like that, outside in between the fingers, stretch out at least to ensure 1 meter apart, and then you put on your mask. Thank you very much, boys and girls. We will meet in the next lesson. Bye-bye.
What is social distancing? Hi everyone, I am Zoshi, and I'm back. It literally just means that you need to stay home all the time and keep away from crowded places. And remember to keep your distance from your friends too. Everybody stay safe. Yay! Till next time. Bye!
Hello and welcome to Turning Point International. We have taken over London. For 10 years I did it and I got burned out.
Over time, eBay developed an addictive personality to escape depression.
There's some people, they take medication and it actually doesn't work for them.
In a time of uncertainty, false news, and fear. Learn on, while the world scrambles to make new sense, while the experts turn around in circles, trying to find their way back to tomorrow. Learn on. When classrooms become empty cathedrals and the trees start to bear answers. Learn on. Learn on until every parent is a teacher and every teacher is a mentor. Learn on until you cross the boundaries of your mind, until you grow eyes and sprout wings. My friend, learn on sidewalks, on the floor, at the neighbors, in the market, in hallways, in churches, under trees, at kitchen tables, in riverbeds. Learning doesn't only happen between four walls. Learning happens in the small space of your enormous, beautiful mind. Start where you are. Use what you have. Learn on one. Invite learning in.
India's Ranthambore Reserve in Rajasthan is home to the rare Bengal tigers. Every year, John Isaac, an Indian-born photographer, travels from New York City to document the lives of these majestic animals.
In the last 10 years, I think my interest has grown tenfold, and I'm very particular about the survival of the tigers.
His goal is to make sure that people everywhere know about the grave danger Bengal tigers face: extinction. John holds seminars and photographic exhibitions from his visits to Ranthambore to raise awareness of the plight of these tigers. He's currently working on a book to document their dilemma due to an increasing human population encroaching on their territory. According to John and wildlife experts, each tiger needs as much as 9 square kilometers to survive, just under 4 square miles. The relationship between tigers and people has always been difficult, but now, with much less territory to roam, tigers often wander into human settlements.
The conflict between the villagers and the tigers has always been there, and then government tries to compensate. If a tiger kills a goat or a cow, they pay a certain amount to the villagers.
In the past, tigers used migration corridors or routes followed by wildlife for travel between summer and winter habitats. Now these pathways have been taken over by people who use them as living quarters and to reap firewood.
We are trying to work with the communities living around and trying to reduce their forest dependency so that we can conserve this corridor patch for the smooth and easy movement of tigers.
Jamuna Devi, a farmer, lives near one of the migratory corridors. She used to depend on the forest for grazing pastures. Now, thanks to a World Wildlife Fund initiative, Jamuna no longer needs to rely on the forest for her family's survival. The secret? Introducing new alternative crops closer to her home.
2 साल बोया हमने खुद ने और ये तो अभी यही साल बोया है, ये आया हुआ कांदा है हम 25 रोज को तो तारीख को तो बोया ही है और रोज बा में अंतर तो आगा फूलने लगा.
The success of this project has led to even more changes. Jamuna decided to plant fodder for her cattle on her excess land to further preserve the habitat of the tigers. She has also switched to cooking gas so that she doesn't have to collect forest wood for fuel.
जंगल में सब दुनिया ने जाबे छोड़ दिया तो सब बे होगी, कोई काम नहीं करा, लकड़ी को भी नहीं करा, जंगल में जाने से भी परेशान है दुनिया. तो गैस भेज दिया साबन के घर घर में, वो सभी सिलेंडर पकड़ते हैं और रुपया को कोई समझते ही नहीं है. अब भीतर भरा लावा.
Climate change also has a direct impact on the habitat of tigers.
The last 2 or 3 years, they say, there's been a drought. The rains have not been regular.
Climate change is a serious problem in this country, even it's in the continent. So keeping these forest areas alive and protected is the only solution. This year we have raised a nursery of 10,000 saplings. Forest department have shown their interest. They bought around 2,000-3,000 saplings.
The idea is to plant new trees to replace those lost to severe weather conditions and human activity. Poaching used to be a major threat to Bengal tigers, but thankfully the number of big cats killed by poachers has plummeted due to measures implemented by law enforcement agencies, resulting in less demand for tiger products. Especially the introduction of camera traps and digital apps, which automatically take photos of moving tigers and suspicious persons moving around in the forest.
Every time I hear something like that, I feel so good. You know, in some ways, some things are working, and so this is what drives me to come and do this. In my lifetime, if the tigers are extinct, I don't know how I'll handle that.
This report was produced by Mary Ferreira for the United Nations.
Early this morning, woke up holding my head, hearing my heartbeat all night long. Shades of this motel keeping me in bed, reading the news, just trying to stay strong. I need to just get up and take a deep breath, keep it together, 'cause it's a beautiful day. Sun on my face, feeling okay. Don't let it get away, it's a beautiful day. Feel so proud, screaming out loud. It's a beautiful day. Beautiful day. Feel so proud, screaming out loud. It's a beautiful day. Beautiful.
Akiri, 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 akiri. Let's just